There's a great possibility that this is the first time this guitar has been back in this building since 1940, which is just like if it didn't come back here to get repaired or something, this is the first time it's been back, you know. Ask the guitar. How does it feel to be home? You know? I think it's just this guitar's never looked so good in this room with all this like old shit. No, that's cool, man. Full circle again. What a trip. For the guitar and me. It's an incredibly beautiful, like all these little herringbone things and just the little diamonds and the way that the ornate little details, that they made so long ago, and it's still just, you can't really, you can't make it any better, you can do things to it, but it's like they figured it out back then, and it's just still the best. All these years later, they haven't figured out how to make a better acoustic guitar than a Martin. If you think of just the word guitar, I think of a Martin D-28. Some people might think of a Stratocaster or a Les Paul, but it's just like so American, it's like baseball or something. There's just something that happens when you pick up a Martin guitar and you strum it and you hear the tone. It's rich, and it's just woody and natural and big, and I don't know how they can make a guitar so resonant and still so structurally intact, They're built like tanks, but they sound like they're made from like feather light wood or something, I think, just going around at like a guitar store or something, elderly, and you pick up a couple Martins off the wall or something, they all have they're all Martins, you know what I mean? They might be a little different here and there, but they all have this overall thing that is like the Martin sound. And that is the sound that has captivated bluegrass guitarists for as long as it's been around, and every other genre as well. But specifically these dreadnought guitars for bluegrass music, you gotta have one, That guitar that I was sitting on the other side of when I was a kid, hearing my dad play, his Martin guitar that his dad got him. And it's my earliest memories, is sitting in front of that guitar and hearing my dad play it. And it was kind of like one of the only things that we had of any like value in the house, it was like a cherished, item. It was like, if he ever let me play his guitar, it was like a big deal, like I got to play Dad's Martin, and so yeah, that guitar really is where I kind of built my dreams, I'm just the most comfortable on an acoustic guitar. Anytime I'm playing electric, I feel like I'm kind of just, I don't know how to work all the knobs and stuff, and and the strings are too light, and I don't know. It's still 6 strings and the same amount of frets and everything, but I just feel a lot more comfortable with the guitar that has 13 gauge strings and is an acoustic guitar. But I like all sorts of music, so over time I've, learned how to play some Black Sabbath and Hendrix and Zeppelins and stuff like that, when I was a kid. And I wanted to kind of just be able to do whatever I want when I'm on stage. So I've kind of, developed this magnetic pickup, and I have a switch here that I can turn, use overdrive and kind of, I can wail with the acoustic, and soar. And then if I want, I can switch back to, I wouldn't do that to this guitar though. There's no pickup in this one, and I don't think I could bring myself to like put a hole in it. I've molested so many other guitars, this one has to stay safe from my insanity. When I started thinking about what I would, the possibilities are endless. I have the option, I'm going to do a signature guitar with Martin. What do I want to do? And I started really thinking about it, and my first thought was, I want to make a guitar that people can get into their hands. It would be easy I want to make a D-45 with a big pearl pick guard or something, but nobody's going to be able to afford it. And none of the pickers, the young pickers that are growing up learning how to play, are going to be able to, get their hands on something like that. So that was my first thought, was I just want it to be affordable. If that means no fancy details, then, that's fine. And then I was just thinking more about it, and it's like, well, this is my, like, guitar, you know what I mean? This is the one for me. And I thought, well, why not just kind of give this guitar tribute by kind of basing it off of this guitar. The tuners are the same. We were able to make tuners that are just like this. The herringbone, the diamonds, rosewood, a D-28, But what I did was shorten the scale length a little bit and widen the spacing a tiny bit. That's the only two really different little things that I did with it, which made it a lot faster for me anyways to play. Of course, this guitar plays really easy, but not all of them do. You gotta get them set up, and take care of them. A normal D-28 is 25.4, and what we did is just shave off that 4/10 of an inch, making it 25 even, which to me, it gives it a little less string tension, makes it a little bit easier to press down, and just makes it kind of a faster guitar, to play. And after gig, all the hours of playing and practicing and stuff, anything I can do to make it easier on myself, I will. But it's not so much tension to where it makes the strings like slinky. And then on the spacing, 1 11/16 is what I'm used to and what I'm kind of glued to these days right now. That's what this is. This one doesn't feel too skinny, but sometimes they can. 1 11/16 not for me anyways. I don't have huge hands. The big 30s 1 3/4 guitars are too big for me. They're too wide. Sometimes these can feel a little bit skinny, so 1 23/32 is right in between those, and that's the perfect spot for me. It gives me a little bit more room so I don't feel bunched up down here, I'm making these kind of big $10 chords, or if I'm playing some stuff like cross picking and alternate picking, it gives me a little bit, tiny bit more room to get in between the strings and get nibbly with it. I remember when I was a teenager, I would look at magazines and just dream about, I'll never be able to afford a guitar like that, and there's so many kids out there that really want to learn how to pick, and they need access to like a good instrument that's not gonna like, they don't have to take out a loan or something, and like that just was important to me, to make sure that there was a guitar that people could get their hands on. You know, I come off the bus and see some people out there playing, and you know, hear some kid picking or something, and he's a really good player, but I see him playing on some junky guitar like I used to play, and it's like, man, that kid deserves a solid instrument, you know. Doesn't have to be worth thousands of dollars, you know what I mean? But it still, you know, there's and also there's a lot of, you know, decent little guitars out there. I like the old house brand guitars, you know, silver tones and stuff like that, and you can find them. Um, but to have a Martin, you know, that you can actually acquire and learn how to pick on, I mean, that's like the first one I got, you know, from Elderly. Um, and it's great. It's a fully badass guitar, you know. Uh, so yeah, I'm so excited for some of the kind of students of the music to get their hands on those and keep learning how to pick, you know. And then they can take that guitar and go, once they get there, they can play a few gigs, stack up their little pile of money in their top dresser drawer like I did, and then go buy the Martin of your dreams, you know. I think the most rewarding thing will be seeing the guitars in the hands of the pickers, especially the young and up and coming folks that are learning how to play. Um, but so far, the biggest reward has been when I actually picked up the guitar and played it, and that's the reward. It's the tone, it's the feeling that I get when I strum it. It's a visceral reaction that's hard to explain in words. I said, yeah, let's try this spacing and this scale length and stuff, and I didn't really know. It's kind of an experiment. And then when I played the guitar, and it was like, this is how I imagined it would be. It's kind of easier to play, and it's still great, and the spacing is perfect, and I'm just like it. I think it's great. I'm just really stoked about it, you know. It's a huge honor and a huge, like, kind of full circle thing, you know. Like I said, just growing up with my dad's Martin being so important to us, you know. His dad got it for him when he came into some money, and you know, he took him over to Elderly Instruments and said, man, pick a guitar out. And he thought he would have chose a Les Paul or something, you know. And what he pulled off the wall was this D-93. It's called 160th anniversary, mahogany and spruce, but it's a beautiful guitar. It's got a CFM inlay right there on the 3rd fret, white binding, and you know, and it's just an amazing guitar. That's the one that my dad chose, and he's played it forever, you know. It was missing for a couple years, but we got it back, and then he's got it right now. You know, we made a record last year or the year before, and he played that guitar on the record, and ever since I've been a little kid, that's what my dad's been playing. And you know, when I was a little kid, he told me, you know, someday this will be your guitar. And ever since I was a little kid, that meant a lot to me. You know, that just this item that, like, I know in the future that my dad's getting older, you know, and he's not always going to be around, but I'm always going to have that guitar to play and remember him by, you know. So it means a lot, you know. It's very, I'm a sentimental person, especially about this kind of stuff, the music and guitars and bluegrass and Doc Watson and my dad. It's my whole kind of life revolves around all that, you know. And Martin guitars are a big part of that, you know.